Morning, everyone. Welcome to lesson 10.1. Here's our objective. I will be able to find the volume of rectangular prisms. So now this new unit is finding the volume. So just a heads up, when you found the area of something, it was always squared, like meters squared, because it was two dimensions. Now we're in the third dimension. We're going to be doing volume. And volume is the amount of space inside of a three-dimensional figure. So everything will be cubed. So we might have centimeters cubed or cubic centimeters or meters or whatever, because they're three dimensions. So keep that in mind as we label our answers. Okay. So what is the formula to find the volume of a rectangular prism? Well, it's simply length times width times height. And the book gives you an L that looks it's cursive really. So that's what the L looks like, the length times the width times the height. Or it really is just base times height. It's the area of the base, which is length times width gives you the area of the base down here. So you find the area of the base, which is two dimensions, length times width, and then you multiply it by the height, and that'll give you the area of a rectangular prism. So it's probably easier to recognize length times width times height, length going the long ways, width going in depth, and height going up and down. But you can think of it as base times height because it's the area of the base times the height. Okay. Let's do a couple of examples. Let's find the volume of this rectangular prism. So, remember, length times width times height. It's always good to write your formula down somewhere on your paper to remember, so you start remembering it. And sooner or later, you'll remember it on your own without having to write it down. Okay, so we have 12 times 10, which is our length and our width. It's also the area of our base, so I'll do that part first, times our height of 6 centimeters. Okay, so let's do 12 times 10 first. We can do that one in our head, our length times width, because we know 10 times 10 is 100, and then two more 10s would make it 120. So the area of our base is 120 centimeters squared. Now we have to take that area of our base and multiply it by our height. 120 times 6, here we go. 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 2 is 12, and 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 more equals 720 centimeters cubed, or 720 cubic centimeters is the volume. So volume of this rectangular prism is 720 centimeters cubed. Okay? All right, let's find the volume of this rectangular prism now. Now this is going to be a little bit more complicated because we're dealing with fractions, and we have a cereal box here. Looks yummy. Okay, so once again we have length, which is 8 inches, times the width, which is 3 1/4 inches, times the height, which is 12 1/2 inches. Okay, so I like my answers to have mixed numbers, but I can't really deal with mixed numbers, so I have to create improper fractions. So this 8 really is 8 over 1. That's fine. Now this 3 1/4, let's turn it into an improper fraction. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. So it's really 13/4. Okay, and this 12 1/2, well, 2 times 12 is 24, plus 1 more is 25. So it's really 25 halves. Okay, now multiplying fractions. I'm going to let this look a little nicer here. 8 over 1 times 13 over 4 times 25 over 2. Now multiplying fractions, I could just multiply all my numerators and all my denominators. What I'm actually going to do first here is kind of simplify. I'm going to multiply my denominators and get 1 times 4 times 2, which equals 8. Okay? So on my bottom, I have an 8. Now, when I look at this, I have an 8 on the top. So this 8 on the bottom will cancel out my 8 on the top. My denominator will cancel out my numerator. So what I'm really left with is just 13 times 25. Now I didn't have to do that. I could have just multiplied all my numerators, all my denominators, and then divided my numerator by 8. Okay? But since those cancel out, I'm going to have a 1 on the bottom because this 4 and this 2 cancel out that 8. So all I'm left with is 1 on the bottom and 13 times 25. Here we go. 5 times 3 equals 15. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 1 more is 6. And x minus 0. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. And guess who's here?
Mr. Murphy, did you have your Wheaties this morning?
I did not have my Wheaties this morning. That's why my stomach feels a little upset. Maybe I should have had my Wheaties this morning.
I hope you have your Wheaties this morning.
Yes. Or tonight.
Well, tonight.
Yes, breakfast for dinner.
Have it for tomorrow.
Brinner. It's the best meal of the day.
Yes.
Anyways, so let's add them up. We get 5, 12, and 3. 325 over 1 cubic inches, or inches cubed, is our volume for the cereal box. Hopefully they fill it all the way so you can get your money's worth. Alright, so the big thing to remember today, and for the rest of your life, is that the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height. So now you have a couple of problems to do for me. The first one, I don't give you a picture, you have to read it, and if you can't see it, I'll move you a little closer and read it to you, so there's no excuses. It says a rectangular kitchen sink, so in my head, you have a rectangular prism just like this, is 25 and 25/100 inches long, or 25.25, 19.75 inches wide, or 19 and 75/100ths, and 10 inches deep. So you have your length, you have your width, and you have your height. Okay? Find the amount of water that can be contained in the sink. Now that just basically means what is the volume of that sink? What can be fit in there? And the second one has the picture and it has all the dimensions. You have to find the volume of this rectangular prism. Its length is 10 feet, its width is 4 feet, and its height is 6 feet. And if you can't remember, L times W times height. Okay, good luck with those problems, and we will see you real soon.